Hi guys, Matt from HALTECH here, and today on HALTECH Heroes, we've trekked all the way out to Conowingo, Maryland to talk to Drag Week winner, Frank Saponaro. Now, Drag Week is an event that takes race cars and semi-street driven cars across a 1,000-mile journey to 4 racetracks and 5 different races over the space of just 1 week. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk to Frank Saponaro and find out what drives a person to do an event like this. What are the highs, what are the lows, and how do you actually win? So Drag Week is 1,000 odd miles, 4 different tracks, 5 races. What possesses you to take effectively a race car and drive it across the country?
Yeah, it's the opposite of wisdom, I guess. You always go to the track, you're always racing, and you kind of have this, you want to prove, I always built the cars around the street. It's what I enjoy. I hate to have just one purpose for the car, so you want to prove that the car is about as street worthy as you can possibly be. I mean, Drag Week is the best way to prove that.
So what's it like to take a car that's really set up for the track and drive all those miles? I mean, 250, 300 miles a day between tracks. How long does it take to get from point A to point B? How many fuel stops do you need to make? I mean, what are the challenges for driving a track car?
That all, I guess a lot of that depends on how you build your car to begin with. Like, big fuel tanks, a lot of fuel capacity, making the interior comfortable, air conditioning's a plus. Doing planning, the planning portion of building the car is super important for a street-oriented car like that. So that's the most grueling part is probably the long hours. As much as you love driving your car, you spend 8 or 10 hours in it just driving along. We can't wait to get out of that thing. Usually on Drag Week, there's not a lot of freeway driving. Okay. They take, like, if you got A and B, you go this way, like to B. And it makes it interesting. You go through small towns, real scenic stuff. It puts me at tracks that I'd never been to and would never think to go to. And I keep going back because a lot of the friends that I met there. It's just some of the best people you ever meet, and you just go back, and then it's an awesome event.
Well, straight up, I see about 1,000 things that I want to ask you about. But before I get too deep into it, why don't you give me the overview? Tell me everything about what's happening in the engine bay here.
I guess generically, it's a big block Chevy.
Yep.
It's 555 cubic inch. Of course, fuel injected, yep. That HALTECH. Air conditioning, twin turbos from Work Turbocharger. They're 91 millimeter S400 based units.
It's a pretty big turbo. How much boost are you making?
It's not getting after it too much yet. We're still working on the tune-up, so okay. It's right around 35 to 38 pounds.
Yeah, not a lot of boost at all.
The plan is going to be closer to 45 to 50.
I don't even want to know how much horsepower it makes, but I do want to know how much horsepower it makes.
Over 2,000. I don't know. I'm not a dyno guy,
Sure, but
the numbers at the track.
3,500 pounds, and what kind of quarter mile does it run?
It's over 3,800 pounds, and it's over 190 mile an hour. 191. Yeah.
So I've got some specific questions to ask because this is a little bit unlike any engine I've seen before. You've got 8, 16, 24 injectors. Now that's a little bit of an unusual combination. What's the story with 24 injectors? So basically it's a dual fuel type setup. Okay.
So the 8 small 130 pound per hour injectors, they run off an electric pump in the tank and a 25 gallon fuel cell in the back. The 16 275 pound per hour injectors, they run on methanol from a belt drive pump on the front and a small 2.5 gallon tank up front.
So I'm guessing for Drag Week specifically, you've got gas in the back, running on those primaries, the smaller ones, and when you get to the track, you flip over to methanol, or is it methanol just goes on top of
I don't touch anything. I hit the gas pedal, and the HALTECH, it actually controls it. So when I get to a certain duty cycle with the gasoline injectors, the methanol starts coming in.
So it's not even a matter of turning the switch, doing anything fancy.
Don't touch anything.
You just send it. So even if you're on the street, you're driving from point A to point B, if someone happens to
smack the gas and
you're
you're laying it down. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. And how does that work out for you? Obviously, it makes good power. The engine has stayed together. How does it feel to drive? Is it a strange sort of thing, or what?
No, it's pretty effortless. You know, the drive-by-wire is just really smooth. Everything's.
I was going to ask about that. I mean, it's unusual to see drive-by-wire on an old setup like this. Most people would be afraid of that technology and want to run a cable.
Yeah.
What made you decide to go to drive-by-wire?
Actually, I really prefer it because with a cable, it always freaked me out having just a slack cable. Right. You want to get off the gas, the cable doesn't push on the throttle blade at all. If something were to happen where something bends or something backfires or anything, you never know.
You really got one point of failure, right? You got one spring.
Right.
If that spring happens to fail, you're done.
You're done.
Right.
So, with a drive-by-wire, you have a motor that'll just force that thing closed.
Yep.
So that's, to me, feels safer, especially with all the safeties and whatnot built into the EFI system.
What's a typical day of drag week look like?
Well, they give you, so you run at the first track, turn in your time slip, and when you turn it in, they give you the directions to the next track. Nobody knows how you're getting there, how many miles it is until you turn your slip in. Okay. And they give you directions that you have to follow pretty specifically, or else you're getting lost.
So you get the directions for your next track. You've just run down the strip. Are there any changes that you make to the car between, I guess, when you do your run in the morning and then when you get your directions and you head out and you drive there? How does that look?
It really depends on weather forecast a lot for me, because I don't change tires unless they're calling for rain. And I take a set of regular run-of-the-mill radials with me on a set of wheels, swap them out at the track. One of the other things is I take a belt off my big fuel pump, and I have a small electric pump in the big 25-gallon tank that runs the regular, just driving around part of it.
Now I also see over in the engine bay there, looks like you've got an exhaust back pressure sensor running into the ECU. Are you using that for anything specifically, or just to monitor it?
That's mainly to monitor.
Yep.
The one that I'm using for a safety is in the radiator. It's a coolant pressure. So if I lift a head before I can get water under the back tires, it's killing the boost and limiting me to 3,500 RPM.
All right. So you're running engine protection on the coolant pressure.
Correct.
That's a really good way of doing things. Really smart. What about boost control? Are you running ECU for boost control? Or you've got an external boost control.
Yeah, I'm using the ECU for full boost control with CO2.
You don't have a trailer in this event, which means everything that you take has to go in the car with you.
Correct.
What's on your checklist of things to put in the trunk and make sure they're
strategic placement. You can only fit so much in this thing.
Yeah, I mean, you've got roll cages and all sorts of things back there.
It's just jack, impact gun, wheels and tires. I brought a spare front tire, spare alternator, spare electronics, things that you think about, things that can, a single item that can take you out or put you on the side of the road and not be able to get easily at an auto parts store. So it's just thinking ahead and planning that kind of stuff.
Across the week, do you stay in hotels? Do you camp at the place? How does the accommodation work?
Yeah, so you drive from that track essentially to you go directly by the next track, but then you just go right to your hotel, which is generally you plan ahead and get one really close to the track, so you're not waking up early in the morning and having to do another long drive to go get to the track that morning.
That makes sense. Yeah. And you don't have any support cars? You go just your navigator.
Right.
Wave goodbye to your family.
Yep.
See you in a week, maybe.
It's always interesting, that feeling, like that first day when you're separated from your truck and trailer and all your stuff that you know. The whole time in my mind, I'm sitting there, did I bring this? Did I bring that? Am I going to need that? It's just, it's interesting. It's an uneasy feeling. But then you get to the second track, you start driving after about an hour or so, and you realize, like, It's good.
But are you running a Driveshaft sensor on this thing? And I imagine
I
you
am.
probably would want to use torque management on a drag week car.
Yes, yeah, I am using a Driveshaft sensor, but it's not a aftermarket sensor. It's actually a factory speed sensor from a GM Turbo 400.
Okay.
So it's a 40 spline, sensor. So it's actually pretty high clarity.
That's pretty good. And that just goes straight into the ECU. You set that up for Driveshaft RPM.
Correct.
And have you used much of the torque management on this thing? Do you need it at drag week, or
I do. I actually don't use it for traction control per se. I use it as more of a safety to keep like really violent wheel speed from keeps the car more under control when you do knock the tires. Once you knock the tires, it passes shot anyway.
So you've competed in drag week for a few years straight now.
Right.
What are some of the highs and lows of competing in this event? A, competing, and B, turning around and coming back year after year after year.
Yeah, it's a glutton for punishment. So 14 was a great year. I took my 64 as a different car than the wagon, but had a blast there. That's what really kind of sold me on the whole drag week thing. 15 was the first year for the wagon when I got it done. Came in and didn't really know. It was a brand new build. I hadn't really got a ton of time on it because I got it done right before drag week. I got some test passes, loaded up, and off you go. And it ended up coming in second. It was really close. I believe it was within maybe 2-3 tenths of the first place guy.
That's pretty impressive in the first year round.
Yeah, I was really happy with that. And got the fastest car there without a trailer. So.
That's a win?
Yeah. It was funny because they called me up for that award. I had no idea that was even an award at that time. So
is this even a thing?
It's like a surprise. Yeah, and then the next year I went back in 16, and I was leading the class. So it's like everything was dandy. It was great. Driving to the third track up to Michigan, and started hearing some not so friendly exhaust tones. Changing tone, sounded like I was driving through a tunnel out of the one side. So I pulled over, check it out. Well, here it was eating a lifter. And the metal from the lifter went through the engine, through the oil, into the turbos, locked up both turbos. So the option of me just hanging the lifter open and finishing on 7 cylinders was gone. So that was kind of the crappiest part of my drag week experience so far. Just kind of tucking your tail, and because 16 was probably one of the hardest years I've ever had drag racing. In April of that year, I put this car in the wall at Cecil County Dragway, and it demolished the front end. Had to rebuild the entire front end of the car, and I got it done. The owner of Cecil County Dragway actually helped me out and opened up a little early for me, let me make a pass. I loaded up the car and drove to drag week. Like that, it was that tight of a window to get this thing done. And then to get there and have it just like
something unrelated.
Yeah, something completely unrelated to what happened, So yeah, that was an interesting year.
Does it make you think I'm not going to come back? I'm done with this.
Nah, that's not really my mentality. So.
That's kind of the point.
No, not going to happen.
That's why you come back.
Yeah, you got to come back and get some redemption and then make
Tell us about redemption. You got some redemption this year.
Yeah, this year was awesome. So the first day, first pass, boom, class record. Nice. So Super Street Big Block Power Adder is the class I run. Okay. It was wild. It was every track I just had it was better and better. I struggled a little bit at Bristol with some traction issues, but other than there, it was just it was a flawless.
And that's the class. Week. That's the class that you ended up winning.
Correct. Yeah, it went. I guess the final day went a 749 at 191, which still, it was 95 degrees out. It's like so humid. Just you get out of the car and you start sweating.
You need a chainsaw to cut through.
Yeah, so I had no intentions of really trying to set any records with the car. Yeah. Just wanted to get A to B, go A to B and try to just seal the deal and get the win.
Just get down track,
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys use E85 in an application like this. Have you ever used E85, and do you think it's better to run a dual fuel? I mean, it's just a weird combination when the E85's out there.
Yeah, I ran the 85 for the first 3 years this car was built. And I guess I kind of struggled with finding it in my area, or you never know where the tracks are on drag week, trying to find it. You're driving way off course, coming back in. So I kind of went away from it this year and did this system. And I tell you, it actually worked out great. Just any pump, anywhere, just throw fuel in it and go.
I can certainly see the advantages because, like you said, any pump, any fuel, you can send it. Do you have any sort of protection in there that if you don't have any methanol in the tank or something like that, that maybe limits the boost RPM? I don't know. What do you do about that?
Off of fuel pressure on the methanol system. Just build an engine safety off of that.
Now, on drag week, obviously you're covering a lot more miles than you normally would, going to and from a track over the space of a week. How do you go about cooling this thing? Because obviously it's a big cube engine, well, relatively big cube. Turbo produces a lot of heat because it makes a lot of horsepower. How do you get rid of all that heat?
Well, this year was probably the biggest challenge on drag week ever as far as heat removal, because Atlanta, Georgia, they call it Hot Atlanta. So it was hot. It was in the upper mid 90s and really humid. Not only with the heat there, but then you have the air conditioning going too. That condenser is making heat in front of it.
Yep.
So just the biggest radiator I could fit in there. And basically the fans are even oversized. They hang out of the side of the tank of the radiator. So.
And did that work out? Did you have any overheating problems?
No, it runs 175, 180 degrees and doesn't budge.
How do you win an event like this? Is it a combination of all of your best times, or is it dial-in, or what's the story for actually coming home as the winner of the class?
The easiest way to do it is to go into it, the mentality with, I just want to finish.
Okay.
That's the easiest way. If
you do that, more of attrition. Last man standing.
I'm telling you, man, it is wild. Like you just finishing drag week is a feat in itself. It's not easy. The road is the great equalizer. Just getting through. If you keep your mentality with, hey, I just want to get through this. If it happens, it happens. If it's not, if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And that was kind of my mentality this year. And my mentality, after 16, I just thought I had to finish. And
not trying to set any records, you just happened to pick up a couple along the way.
Happened to do pretty good with it.
I see we've got looks like a tablet in here.
Yeah.
What are you using that guy for?
It's a Windows 10 tablet, and I basically have loaded the software, the HALTECH software on there, and I use that on the go. Don't have to lug the laptop around with me. I have a Bluetooth keyboard.
Okay.
And use that with the mouse on it, and plus you can do the diagnostic screen on there and have whatever displayed you want while you're driving down the road tuning.
That's pretty cool.
I'm not much of a dyno guy, so most everything I do is on the road, and I'm trying to do it by myself. So.
And we've got the auto transmission in here, but that's a bit different because you've got looks like an air shift solenoid on the back of that.
Yeah.
How does that work out? What are we running here?
That's this year I decided to add an air shifter to it. It lets me just grab my hands on the steering wheel and the parachute and be ready for anything.
So how does that work? You obviously you set it into drive.
Yep.
And you get on, is it trans brake?
Yeah, so I leave, this is a 3-speed turbo 400 with a gear vender's overdrive behind it.
Yep.
The overdrive's controlled from my foot over here with a traditional like high-low beam switch from an older car. The air shift is controlled from the HALTECH, both with time and RPM, whatever I set it at. I launch in second gear, even though it's a 3-speed.
Yep.
Leave in second, and it does the 2-3 shift for me.
So trans brake, let the button
go. This is the bump button on the steering wheel.
Yep.
Trans brake's actually on the shifter.
On the shifter.
So I go from the shifter, and my hand just goes right over to the parachute.
Smart.
And that's kind of ergonomic and easy to do.
I like it.
Hopefully you never have to reach for that.
Yeah, you don't want to have to pull that big red fire button.
Nope, no good.
But if you do need to pull it, you'll be glad
it's right there.
Yeah. How did you come about owning the wagon?
Really, wagons. I've always had a fascination with wagons. I've been wanting to.
Wagons.
Yep. Been wanting to build one for a long, long time. and finally found this one. And I guess one of the main reasons, as I got older, my family got bigger. I have 3 young kids, you know, and I just wanted a 4-door mainly. And we have a lot of stuff. Like we go to the beach a lot and just throw everything in the back and throw the kids in the back.
You go to the beach and
we do
nice
this. There's a cool event in our area in Ocean City with like 5,000 street rods and muscle cars from around all over the place, and you cruise up and down the boardwalk and all around Ocean City. It's really neat. I found the car. I'd looked for months, and I found it on eBay of all things.
Wow. And
it was right down the road from me. It was in 30 minutes away, 30 minutes south. I went to look at it, and it was at a body shop. And you know, if a body guy has a car that he decides he's not going to put his time into,
that's too much work for me.
You know it's going to be a rough one. So it was basically the rockers were rotted away. The quarter panels around the wheel wells, they're all rotted. It had snow tires on it, so whoever had it was driving this thing. Yeah. So the A-pillars were rotted. The firewall. It was quite the sheet metal endeavor.
But what possessed you to walk away with it after that then?
I'm not sure yet. Yeah. A vision, I guess, you know.
How long did it take you to go from your pillars are rusted out of it, you've got no floor in the thing, it's got snow tires on it. How long did you go from basically being a pile of rust that really should have gone to the wrecking yard?
It should have. It should have.
How long did the build-up take?
A little over, like I took a break in between, but actual working time was probably just over 1.5 years.
Oh, that's not long at all.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. I'm one that's in the garage every night, and I got to get, like, if an open project, I got to get it complete. I can't stand looking at it like that.
You don't like rust, I can tell you don't like rust.
No, I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah. And have you done all the fabrication on this car yourself? Is it labor of love from this garage?
Most everything except for the paint. You know, of course, I have awesome friends that have helped me so much along the way, you know. But yeah, it's just, A, I'm picky, and B, I'm cheap. So I want to do everything myself.
I noticed you've got a little cup holder here. That's super important on your drag car.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're going to have a put your coffee from the Wawa.
Yeah, every morning.
Yeah, good times. You got a little cubby hold here. What normally goes in your little cubby?
Yeah, there's a little fire extinguisher. There's registration papers. You know,
of course,
tire pressure gauge.
There's registration papers because it's street registered.
Yeah,
because it's
exactly.
A street car, 2,000 horsepower. And of course, you got the air conditioner. That's my favourite feature of this car, I think.
Yeah, it's a vintage air system, the Gen 4. It's just like a universal system, kind of grafted in.
Does it actually keep the car cool enough to like?
It's surprisingly well. It'll actually, you have to turn it down after a little while on the street. The whole car is insulated front to back, firewall inside the doors.
Part of that whole 3,800-pound thing.
Yeah, that probably didn't help me any. Yeah, but you know, I'll give up some weight for that comfort.
I think that's a fair call. A vehicle with that much work that needs to be done to it, there's got to have been some challenges along the way.
Yeah, I guess the biggest challenge was probably packaging. There's a lot of components in this car. It's a big block Chev, two turbos, you know, just injectors everywhere, overdrive unit off the back of the trans. There's a lot of things that you have to plan for that.
You've got air conditioning in this thing.
Yeah, it is.
You didn't spare on the luxuries.
No, no. You like to be long drives, you know.
Sure.
So yeah, just fitting all that in the car was a challenge, and getting it all to look aesthetically pleasing too, which I'm a big fan of.
It does look beautiful.
Thank you. And yeah, that was probably the biggest challenge. It was getting the packaging in there and getting it all functioning right, and being able to hold up for, you know, hours of abuse on the road and not, you know, burn things up because of where you ran the exhaust and that kind of thing.
You got a dash right there.
Yeah, that's the IQ3 dash. It's all communicates via CAN bus.
And what do you bring up on the dash? What sort of information do you find important enough to have up on that dash?
Well, I have oil pressure, oil temperature, or engine oil temperature, transmission oil temperature, speed, RPM, you know, 4 different pages with all different graphs, battery voltage, you know, that's anything you can think of that is important to.
Your essential engine data.
Yeah.
Sort of
yeah,
information that if something goes really wrong, you want to know what it is.
Correct.
I want to say thank you for showing us around here, giving us a tour of the car. What I really love about what you've done here is that you've poured your own heart and your own soul into it. It's probably one of the favourite cars that I've ever covered with HALTECH because it's so much about you. It's the wagon, you've done the details, the air conditioning, the interior is beautiful. And I think most of all is that you've actually done the work yourself. It's not gone out to a shop, it's been done in-house. It just shows the amount of attention to detail, the love and the care you put into it in the hours. So thank you for showing me through it. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, I'm Matt from HALTECH, and we'll see you next time.